Okay, we're back at it. So we're still in the subject of systems of equations. Today we're going to look at how to apply systems of equations or how systems of equations might be applied. I've just got a couple examples here to help you get started. And this first one is the story of Tyrell and Dahlia. Now, they go to the store, so they go to Staples. And Tyrell buys 4 pens and 5 pencils, and he spends $6.71. Dahlia comes along. Well, she buys 5 pens and 3 pencils, and she spends $7.12. So the question here is, and I didn't write it down, I don't know why, how much does a pencil cost by itself, and how much does a pen cost by itself? And we're going to use this information to figure that out. Well, let's talk about Tyrell for a second, okay? Tyrell, first thing you want to do is you want to identify variables. Now, I could have used P for pens, but then it's P for pencils as well. So I couldn't find variables that made a lot of sense. So I just said, I'm going to let A be the cost of a pen and B be the cost of a pencil. Very straightforward. Well, Tyrell, he buys 4 pens. So 4 times A, if A is the cost of a pen, 4 times A, that's how much money he spent on pens. And 5B, that's how much money Tyrell spent on pencils, because 5 times the cost of a pencil. And if you add these together, we know Tyrell spent $6.71. So there's your first equation. Then we can do Dahlia. Now Dahlia, 5A, that's how much she spent on pens, each pen, same store, same cost, okay? So 5 times the cost of a pen, that's how much she spent on pens. 3B is how much she spent on pencils, 3 times the cost of each pencil. And if we add those, we know that Dahlia spent $7.12. Okay, now, you could graph this if you wanted to. It looks really complicated with the decimals. So I think maybe either substitution or elimination would work. Looking at this, I'm going to choose to do it by elimination. So I'm going to multiply both equations. We'll multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 5. That's going to give the b terms the same coefficient. Okay, so top by 3, bottom by 5. So this equation becomes, and remember, this is being multiplied to everything in the parentheses. Don't forget that. So we get 12a plus 15b equals 20.13, okay? And then doing the bottom one, this becomes 25a plus 15b equals 35.60. Okay, I think, check my arithmetic for me. Well, now, the y terms have the same coefficient, but they're both positive, so I have to subtract. If I do that, 12a minus 25a is negative 13a equals, because the 15s are going to cancel, you have 15b minus 15b, and then 20.13 minus 35.6 is negative 15.47. And if you divide both sides by 13, well, one, the negatives cancel. If you get a negative cost, that's probably a problem. But you get 1.19. So what that tells me is the cost of a pencil, the cost of a pen is $1.19. Now we just take that number, plug it into one of these, we can get the cost of a pencil. I'm going to put it into the first equation, so 4 times 1.19 plus 5b equals 6.71. So that's 4.76 plus 5b equals 6.71. Subtract 476 from both sides. 5b equals 1.95. Divide both sides by 5, and b equals 0.39. So a pen is $1.19, and a pencil is 39 cents. Okay, so that's one example how to use them. Okay, when you're buying two of something, you can just go right to defining the variables, figuring out the total thing. Now this next one's a little trickier. Okay, so this one you have to imagine for a second that you work at a school newspaper. Okay, so you're on the newspaper staff, and for each issue you put out, you pay $600 in research and writing. So it costs $600 to do the research on the articles and to write it. Plus, for every copy you make, it costs 90 cents. So that's for each copy you make, like down at Kinko's or something. It's 90 cents for all the printing. Now you sell the paper for $1.50 per copy. So what we want to do is we want to figure out how many copies do you have to sell to what they call break even. That is, how many copies do you have to sell at $1.50 so you cover the cost of everything up here. These are your expenses, and this is your profit. Okay? You want to know, when do these two equal each other? Well, it's almost easier sometimes to start with a table. So let's look at the expense side. Now, you do all the research and you do the writing. You haven't made a copy yet, but you know you've spent $600. Okay? So we're going to put $600 right here. You spent $600. You haven't printed a single copy, but it's all written. Then, for each copy you make, it adds another 90 cents. So if you make one copy, now that's $600.90. You make another copy, that's $601.80. And you see how that goes on and on and on, right? Well, you've done this before because you've done equations from tables. There, that's your y-intercept, that's your b value, and the rate of change is 0.90 per copy. So y equals, remember this, where we did delta y over delta x plus b. Okay, so b goes there, change in y goes there, change in x goes there, and you get y equals 0.90x plus 600. So there's the equation of your expenses. $600 to start and 90 cents for each copy you do. Now let's look at the profit side. If you don't sell any copies, you make no profit. Pretty obvious. Now, if you sell one copy, if you sell one copy, you make $1.50. Sell two copies, you make 3. Oh, well, look, rate of change. Okay, so y equals, okay, so that's y equals mx plus b. I'm just putting boxes down. This $1.50, that's your change in the y values. This 1, that's your change in the x values. And there is no b value. Okay, so you get y equals 1.5x. That's how much profit you make with each copy. So we want to know, when do these two equal each other? That's your break-even point. That's when the expenses equals the profit, or the profit finally begins to actually make a profit, and it's not just covering what you spent. So we could do this like this. Y equals 0.90x plus 600, and y equals 1.5x plus 0. I could have set these two equal to each other, but I'm going to do elimination. I'm going to subtract these. Watch what happens. When I subtract these, y minus y is 0. See what happened? The y's got eliminated. 0.9x minus 1.5 is negative 0.6x plus 600. Subtract 600 from both sides, you get negative 600 equals negative 0.6x. Divide both sides by 0.6, negative 0.6, and you get 1,000 equals x. X is the number of copies. So they, or you, whatever, must sell 1,000 copies to break even. Anything over 1,000 and you're finally making money. So it's a little more complicated, but if you do think about it, definitely put it into a table, and then from the table it'll help you decipher what the equation is. Then you can put it into some